I am New York.
Я сам New York.
I am New York.
Yo soy Nueva York.
Sono New York.
Je suis New York.
Welcome to DiverseCITY, where we explore New York's eclectic enclaves, one neighborhood at a time. I'm Bronx. This month, we're here in the Northeast Bronx in Co-op City, a veritable city within the city. The Middle Income Development is a 15,000 plus apartment complex that's celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Even before the foundations were laid for this place, one of its supporters, Governor Nelson Rockefeller, called it a, quote, completely sound investment in a better society. Co-op City sits on 320 acres, making it the largest cooperative housing development in the world. Previously, these grounds were the home of Freedom Land USA, an American history-themed amusement park that operated from 1960 to 1964. Freedom Land was nicknamed the Disneyland of the East, and at 205 acres, it dwarfed its California competitor. The park featured attractions such as a stagecoach ride through the Rocky Mountains, a trip on a steamboat, and a street show featuring actors and audience members putting out the Great Chicago Fire. Ultimately, the park declared bankruptcy in September 1964, making way for the construction of Co-op City nearly 2 years later. Co-op has become one of the most successful affordable housing projects in New York City. Along with that distinction, the development that's got a majority of minority residents has faced its share of scandal and scorn. On this episode, The Road Back, Co-op City's new leadership facing resistance from residents. The Pioneers, seniors actively changing the narrative about aging. And Rent Rebellion, a memorable moment in the past that's still impacting residents today. Those stories and more coming up as we explore Co-op City. In the late 1960s, New York City officials were grappling with a way to keep city dwellers from fleeing to the suburbs. They stumbled accidentally upon a plan. Co-op City, a massive complex that provides affordable housing to working class and middle class New Yorkers. 50 years later, Gary Pierre takes a look at the Baychester community and a success that's yet to be duplicated.
Co-op City, a cluster of high-rise buildings and townhouses in the northern Bronx, stands as a reminder of what affordable housing was and could be. This remains a truism as New York City continues its decades-long struggle to create or maintain affordable housing for millions of residents. Residents like Linda Collins. Collins is a retired corrections officer and the president of one of the 35 tenants associations that represent each of the apartment complexes that make up Co-op City. She moved into the Mitchell Lama buildings 4 years ago and knows a lot about the community's history.
People back in the 60s who were making a certain amount of money were fleeing the city. And so two senators, Mitchell and Lama, were figuring out a way with Robert Moses of keeping people in the city. The city was dying, and what they came up with, better housing. We mainly had tenements and private homes, but the tenements were run down and people were getting out if they had money. So they figured out a way that if we had a cooperative way of living where people who were middle class, who had money, could stay close to their jobs, which were in the city.
Some of those who did made their way to Co-op City and laid the foundation for a community that has stood tall like these high-rises for 50 years. Today, it's held up as a unique symbol of housing affordability in New York City. Event planner Elena Powell has lived in Co-op City since the early 1970s.
I think for many years, people have seen Co-op City but not really understood what's here. It's a really good community. It's a very diverse community. It's a real representation of New Yorkers.
Tom Waters, housing policy analyst at Community Service Society, a nonprofit group that analyzes housing and other issues, says that cost overruns on the project forced the federal government to lower the income requirements to buy into the complex. As a result, the pool of residents expanded and led to the diversified community that exists now.
It got harder to make the buildings work financially, so they started adding more subsidy on from the federal government. Those subsidies were meant for people with lower incomes than Mitchell Lama was originally meant for. So income of people started spreading downwards, and you ended up with a program that actually provided housing to people with a pretty wide range of incomes, from people who were pretty poor to people who were pretty middle class, living together in the same developments, which was a really good thing. And I think the key reason for the success of the program, it wasn't intentional. It was meant for a narrow band of people right there, and it ended up being a broad band of people, creating a kind of economic integration, which nowadays we come to think of that as a really good thing, but they didn't know yet. It was done by accident in Mitchell Lama.
Accidental or not, the policy gave residents ownership of their apartments and fueled a sense of pride about their community.
We have our own police department. We have our own sanitation. We do not rely on New York City sanitation to pick up our trash. We have our own sanitation. So think about that. Think about what you have, a city within a city, and that's the pride that they have in Co-op City. It's our personal city here.
They took advantage of the people's desire to be homeowners to raise money to build this building, and that probably helped create the loyalty that people feel to the neighborhood.
Rosemary Bailey knows all about that loyalty. She's lived in Co-op City for 43 years. The recently retired nurse has watched the community go from mostly Jewish residents to Black, Latinos, and a handful of Asians. Despite the shift, Bailey says the neighborhood has kept its sense of pride.
As the older people moved or died, most of them were here until they died, the demographics did change. There were more Black people. We had Asians come in, and there was a point when the Russian Jewish people came in.
Even as the price of an apartment continues to rise in the 5 boroughs, Co-op City remains a viable alternative for some who are seeking an affordable place to live. For DiverseCITY, I'm Gary Pierre.
Even though Co-op City stands as a model of successful affordable housing, the complex has had its share of scandal. One in 2008 eventually led to a board member serving jail time. That scandal, along with other upheavals in the last 5 years, have left many co-operators skeptical of the new management running the development. This distrust comes as the new team is trying to modernize the facilities while keeping them affordable. Bob Kleehammer has been working on refurbishing Co-op City's aging infrastructure for the last 3 years. This year, he's got just under $160 million on hand to get it done.
No significant amount of facade maintenance work had been done here in over 10 years. We have one of, say, 6 capital projects that I inherited that is still ongoing. But most of the $159 million are new projects. So, for instance, some of our larger ones, we have 160 residential elevators. We're completely modernizing the elevators. That's a $40 million project alone. We have roughly $35 million in facade work that we have to do in compliance with the city's local law 11.
Kleehammer's company took over management of the complex after Co-op City's board of directors fired the previous longtime manager, Marion Scott Real Estate. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, demanded that Co-op City's board, who had taken over running the complex in the interim, relinquish the reins to an outside management firm. This was a means of honoring their $625 million mortgage agreement with Wells Fargo.
Well, it's almost been 3 years now since Douglas Elliman was awarded the management contract for Co-op City. And I think part of that came out of some pressure that was brought to bear by the lender, Wells Fargo, and the governing agencies, HUD, the state, and the city, to have professional management brought into Co-op City to deal with many problems, legacy issues and ongoing operational issues that the complex was suffering.
Kleehammer is no stranger to affordable city-sponsored Mitchell Lama developments like Co-op City. He used to run New York's Mitchell Lama program under Mayor Koch. He says Co-op City presents its own challenges.
The greatest challenge is to get the board to buy in to the plan that we've put together. It has met doing an annual carrying charge increase every year. We've been able to keep the increases to under 2%. They've actually been 1.9% the last 2 years, and we're going to have 2 more 1.9% increases, one later this year and one next year. That's probably been one of the challenges. I think also getting the board's trust. I think the experience with the prior managing agent left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths here. And I think it took me a good year and a half to get the board to realize I'm trying to do the best for the development. I'm not here trying to line my pocket. We're trying to bid out old contracts to get the best prices. We're bringing in new vendors to try to get the best job. And that's probably been the biggest challenge.
Beyond dealing with the board, there's renewed scuttle amongst the tenants that all these changes are a preamble to privatization. Years ago, some residents, who are also called cooperators here, debated that the complex should be bought out of its Mitchell Lama status. They argued this would allow them to get market value for their apartments. But the board shut that down then, and Kleehammer says that's not the case now.
That's certainly not an agenda that a managing agent can drive. That would be an agenda that the board and residents would have to put forth. Plus, with the way the existing mortgage is structured, it is federally insured. A significant portion of it's federally insured, but also the state and the city have a piece of the mortgage insurance. One of the requirements to obtain that mortgage was that the complex would stay affordable.
Even with those concerns, Kleehammer says there's still a 6,000-person waiting list for one of the 30 to 40 apartments that become available every month.
I think Co-op City is probably the best housing deal in the city of New York. I mean, where in the city of New York, for a very small buy-in, because we are limited equity, so you pay very little getting in, you can't make a profit going out, but during your time here, you get a 2-bedroom apartment for roughly $1,300 a month with all utilities included. Every mayor has a program to save affordable housing. Well, Co-op City is 15,000 affordable housing units. We have very little crime, and we have, a great community here.
Co-op City is the largest naturally occurring retirement community, or NORC, in New York City. It's also considered the largest NORC in the nation. A naturally occurring retirement community is an area where a large proportion of residents are over the age of 60. Unlike retirement destinations sought out by seniors, NORCs are areas where existing residents simply age up. Judith Escalona reports on why Co-op City's community is so vibrant.
Gwendolyn Taylor is one of more than 12,000 seniors who live in Co-op City. She moved here with her mother over 20 years ago from Washington Heights. Recently retired, Taylor has slowly begun to take advantage of the services offered in this naturally occurring retirement community, like this seminar on diabetes.
I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes about 10 years ago. So I said, well, let me go to this class so I can educate myself. I mean, I do reading and stuff, and I know what I'm supposed to do, but I felt the class would just help to educate me how to take care of myself better, to have a better life.
The diabetes seminar is one of the classes run by JASA, the Jewish Association for Services for the Aged. Founded in 1968, JASA is a not-for-profit providing meals and social services to over 40,000 elderly New Yorkers. Aisha Perillan is the senior director of senior centers at JASA. She says they're trying to revamp senior living.
There was a time when the senior center was the place to go just for lunch and bingo. Now, though, we have older adults that are coming that are very active, and they expect more out of their programming. They want computer classes, they want exercise classes, they want to learn about new opportunities, they want to travel, and so I absolutely see the changing demographic.
In addition to those services, JASA helps retired seniors on a fixed income stay in their apartments through SCREE, the Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemption Program. SCREE is a rent-freeze program for the elderly living in rent-controlled, rent-stabilized, or Mitchell Lama buildings like Co-op City.
To be eligible for SCREE, seniors need to be 62 years or older. They have to be the head of household and have a combined household income of $50,000 or less.
It was very easy. I just went online and I read the instructions. I got what I needed, and so I get a slight decrease annually. And this is about my third year now getting that.
Deborah Speller is a senior who has lived in the community for close to 50 years. She says this rent relief is especially important at a time when the facilities are being upgraded.
They really take care of the senior citizens. You know, the programs that they have, no one should really complain. They really take care of us.
I've seen them do various projects that we need, like the elevator modernization. They're trying to make the lobby accessible for people in wheelchairs. So they're doing a lot of things here, and I mean, nobody wants an increase, but if it's going to better the community where we live, even for the future generation, then, you know, I'm all for it.
Speller and Taylor both say that programs such as SCREE and the Diabetes Seminar are keeping them in Co-op City.
For the foreseeable future, I'll still stay here because, like I said, the convenience, you can't really beat it. You can hop on the train, you can hop on the bus, you can go downtown. You don't have to drive.
I tell people, if you want to see seniors that are on the ball, you come to Co-op City because we got it going on. No, really, the dance classes, the activities, and different experiences that are shared. It's wonderful here.
Judith Escalona for DiverseCITY.
Co-op City's crowning achievement of resident control was achieved only after a 13-month rent strike in the 1970s that nearly bankrupted New York State's Housing Finance Agency. Abby Shola tells us more about the strike in this report.
In 1975, Co-op City shareholders organized the biggest rent strike in the history of the United States. New York was facing its worst fiscal crisis in years. The state was dealing with runaway inflation, oil shortages, and a rise in interest rates. Cooperators were also directly hit by the crisis when the increase in Co-op City's construction costs affected their maintenance fees. Bernie Silich was one of the rent strikers.
As the construction proceeded, and as bills came in from the builders, the HFA, the Housing Finance Agency, they would sell bonds to provide the payments for these bills from the contractors. And the rate of the bonds went up from 5% up to as high as 8%. These are beyond the projection that the initial developers considered. And so they had a serious problem. How to finish the project at the same time, try to avoid the increase of carrying charges.
They couldn't. Mismanagement of funds during construction and rising inflation led the United Housing Foundation to raise maintenance fees by over 100% between 1970 and 1974. When they decided to raise maintenance fees by another 25% in 1975, the cooperators had had enough. They protested in Albany to stop the new increase. When the governor refused to do so, cooperators voted to go on a rent strike.
The community was just in uproar. They said, we can't afford it. So we established a steering committee, as we called it, and then they voted en masse to go on rent strike. We call it a rent increase strike. We agreed to collect all rents made out to escrow, and we would collect all the rents in the lobbies the first of every month.
The United Housing Foundation resigned in light of this action. The rent strike was now against the state. More specifically, the New York State Housing Finance Agency that owned Co-op City's mortgage.
We had various rallies, demonstrations, and then we got into negotiations. There was the state sued us. Finally, after 13 months, there was some settlement. However, the settlement did not include a dime from the state of New York to help us mitigate these enormous increases. They actually refused to give us anything. They said, well, reorganize yourself, we won't take you to jail, we won't default on your mortgage, because they had every right to do that and take it over. And so they said there'll be a nominal increase, 20% increase, we pay them back the mortgage, and we begin to manage it ourselves. And that's where the story is of this rent strike.
After taking over management, the cooperators relied upon collective shared responsibilities to dig Co-op City out of its crisis by cutting back on services and expenses. Today, Co-op City's ongoing organizing has become a cooperative model of democratic governance of large-scale, affordable housing.
The theme of our anniversary exemplifies what we are and what we've succeeded in being. We're the largest, affordable, diverse cooperative in the nation.
Abby Ashola for DiverseCITY.
Finally, this complex has buildings that go up to 33 stories. More intriguing than that are there more than 40,000 personal stories. Plenty of people here have been around for the full 50 years and remember the beginning. Co-op City's History Committee has created an oral history project documenting the journeys of the pioneers. The project's producer, Iman Drami, tells us more about why she wanted to do this in her own words.
When Co-op City was first built, we didn't have all these green spaces yet, but they were, they were a vision of the future. So there were dirt roads, there were no streets. Cars would have to pull up to a building to take people to work. They had shuttle buses. And so, that's why they considered themselves pioneers, because there are things that they had to do, and these are sacrifices they made.
We lived in an old tenement and we had to deal with, and also during the winter, you didn't always have heat, and during the summer, of course, there was no air conditioning. And I took a vow. I vowed that when I move into Co-op City, I was going to kiss the floor. And when we moved into Co-op City, the day we moved in, I got down on the floor and I kissed the floor.
The goal was to document the voices of the people who are the pioneers, the people who've lived here since the groundbreaking in 1968. As a documentarian, I work under the principle that if there is no one around to tell the story, it didn't happen.
The only store was in the garage.
The store was in the garage.
The store was in the garage.
The first early signs of a grocery store.
Right, was in the garage in Building 1. Everyone could go downstairs in their own basement, take the elevator down, and get milk. So we got milk there. It was a unique experience. We were waiting for Co-op City to grow.
This used to be a community largely populated by the Jewish community. So now the demographics has changed. There's about 75% of the people we interviewed are people of African descent, Latino. They were here since the very beginning. And the whites that we've interviewed are the people who stayed. There are stories about racism, in early Co-op City, where different ethnic groups, and it's not only one, felt like outsiders. But over time, the community grew, and that may have been a result of the flight, on both sides.
This is really a melting pot of people that all have the like-mindedness of wanting to live in the city, but also wanting to live in a green space, that want to live in an apartment, but also want to have a sense of ownership.
This was an experiment. No one thought that this would be successful, as large as it is, but it worked. We took them from the beginning to today, and their hopes for the future, and that's what came out of the project were stories that people just didn't want to leave.
I think it offered people who might otherwise be priced out of certain areas of the city and certain areas of Westchester an opportunity to live in a safe area, an opportunity to live in a clean area, an opportunity to feel like they own something. You weren't merely a renter here, you were a cooperator, you were a part owner in whatever this grand experiment was, good, bad, or otherwise.
Access is really important when you're doing projects like this. So we have interest with the Bronx Historical Society to take our information so that people can have access to it. So, we just hope that the stories will be a model and inspire people about what community life and community living and cooperative living is.
Iman Drame is also in talks with the New York Public Library to give the project a home. She plans to create a website with room for more voices from Co-op. That's our look at Co-op City this month. Join us next time when we'll head over to Richmond Town, Staten Island to explore that part of our diverse city.